guys, a very warm welcome back to Offshore and Onshore Adventures. We're at Lymington today and we're very excited to be going to see some of BHG Marine's boats.
We are indeed, yes. So come along, join us. We've got a couple of walkthroughs lined up for you and they're both not to be missed.
Definitely not, definitely not. We're going to be reviewing the 795
Yes,
Sport, the Mary Fisher Jeanneau 795 Sport. I'm so excited, I can't wait to see it. It looks incredible, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
I love the colouring detail on the new sport boats. They are just
I do. Yeah, that's a really nice addition actually. These sort of flashes of red, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like that a lot. So let's just have a look round from the round the outside here. Got the usual lashing points there, the lifting points there that Jeanneau mark. And then as well you can see under here that we've got the bow thruster already fitted on this one. Again, very useful, slow speed manoeuvring. I'll obviously get the data of the length overall and the beam and that on the screen for you as we look round the outside initially here. But it's good in a way when it's out of the water, because you can get a real good feel for the way the hull is shaped and the way that the bow thruster fits and all those sort of bits and pieces whilst it's out of the water. So then underneath there you've got the that's the intake for the seawater for the toilet, and it's just one of the drain plugs there as well for one of the for the day heads that we'll see inside in a moment. And there's that lovely red decal that they've added to the sides of the 7. This is obviously the Series 2 795 Sport. They've also added this side door into the Series 2 795s, which was similar to our 895. So they've just brought it down onto the 795 range, which is great. So, and then from the back here, you've obviously got the Jeanneau swim ladders that you'll have seen on a number of our films. This Velcro strap just undoes, and then the ladder just drops down there, gets you back in when you've had a cool off in the sea, folds up over and stows away in this recess cut out there. While we're here, obviously you can see the fuel filler cap there. Got that little red around the base there, just indicates it's your fuel filler. And you can see this lovely power unit, this 250 V6 4.2 litre Yamaha. 250 is the largest engine you can put on these 795s, and therefore this is an absolutely cracking. I love it in white, really nice in white. When we had our 795 2 or 3 years ago, we had a Honda 200 on it, grey, and then with our 895 we had the Twin Yam 200s, again in grey, but I really like this change to a sort of, you can just get to see the sun there, a bit of a pearlescent white finish, which is absolutely fantastic. Underneath as well, while we're here, you can see here we've got zip weights here fitted. These are the 450Ss. So if you check out our channel for our zip weight film, which we did, which just looks at them in operation and how they affect handling and trim and speed, there's a film on our channel with our 895, which also had 450Ss in the same configuration. So one on the port side and one over on the starboard side. You can just see through the gap there next to the transom mounted transducer. And there you can see the trademark stainless steel prop there. Water intakes for the water cool that disappears around that fabulous Yamaha lamp. And there you've got the transom mount transducer there, again a Garmin fit. Goes with a GPS map 1223 that's in the cockpit, in the wheelhouse rather, that we'll see shortly. And incidentally, those of you who are eagle-eyed will already see that there are no steering rams here. That's because this 795 Sport is one of the first in terms of electric steering. So it's fly-by-wire throttle, but electric steering as well. So no steering rams, none of that stuff. And we'll have a look at that when we get to the Helm station on the inside of this lovely boat. This boat, incidentally, is for sale. So if you're liking the look of this and like the look at it from the rest of the film, then do get in touch with BHG Marine. We're down in Lymington in Hampshire, which is in the UK, and there it's actually right out of the front of their retail premises, which is here. So it's sat here waiting for you guys, but I suspect it ain't going to be here long, because the demand for these at the moment is really strong, and you can see why, because there's some lovely additions that they've made to the 795. It used to incidentally be, of course, the 795 Marine. From a US point of view, it would have been the NC 795, and then the Marlin was in effect rebranded the Sport, because what it of course still has an emphasis on fishing, as you'll see, but they've added things like the supboard bars on the top there, and generally made it, as you'll see in a minute from the inside, a bit more of a family type day out on the water, be it fishing or indeed any other type of water sport. You put your deposit in on it, Nikki, already?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my wallet. I'm going to put my wallet back in the van, I think. So that's the outside. Let's take you on board. And on both sides, in fact, of the 7, you've got these they're like little chromed barriers that lift up and then just fold back and will lock into place again. And as we come through the entrance there, you can see that by the entrance itself, or by the starboard side entrance, you've got your deck shower here. Just pull that one out, trigger fed by the trigger there, and then this length of hose comes out a fair old distance, certainly up to sort of 5-6 foot out from there, which allows you to wash off the seawater that you've been enjoying wherever you may be moored in the world with your 795. There, let me just fiddle that back in there and shut the door. These are just access points for various systems, be it of course the tubing for the shower we've just seen, or they're elsewhere in the boat, perhaps for access to electrics and things like that. And these, which you also see around a lot of the Jeanneau boats, they're merely vents that allow an airflow in through to the spaces below deck. And you can see some more of these access points here over this side. So this bit here, this is also another slight upgrade in inverted commas. It's actually the manual bilge, but whereas there used to be a sort of handle fitted to the side of your manual bilge, this one is all sort of integrated in. You pull up that first, and then as you pull out, you can see it's got a sort of self already built in bilge process that by, and if you just listen, you can just hear there as I pump that, so everything's in effect built in, no separate handle to activate the manual bilge, and stows away again, just pushes closed and clips into place there. So that's your manual bilge, and also you can see while we're down here that if we just put that gate back, that you can see it slots into there. You can also see these catches here. At the moment they're open, and what that allows is it allows this tabletop, or this surface here, just to pull backwards away from the engine, because of course you can see that the engine is pretty close to the back here. And there's a couple of ways you can mitigate when the engine lifts. One is you can just lift this piece up here, which now you can see that void underneath there. You can also see they've put a little roller there, and I suspect that that might be where you can see where it sits. If you accidentally forget that you haven't lifted this up and you start to tilt the engine, I suspect it catches that roller and just lifts it for you, shall we say. So we've released the clips both sides there, so if we just give this a bit of a pull, there you can see now that we've opened up this area. Quite useful in fact, because obviously when you're coming to flush your outboard, at the end of your day's boating, then it gives you a bit more space to work here. Incidentally, another reference, of course, if you check our channel out, you can see there's a video on there about flushing out the Yamaha outboards, and in fact you can just see down there that hose access there. If you check that film out, you can see how that comes into play, how you can wash the fresh water through your engines if you've been out in seawater, particularly just to look after them and preserve them after your day out on the water. But certainly with that pulled out of the way now, and of course the ability to lift that, then it's on gas struts there, you see, then it gives you absolutely plenty of clearance away from that amazing 250 yen. And then similarly over this side, you've got another one of these little lift up doors which just opens back there and then would slot back in, and you've also got your live well, so slightly transparent surface there, and then a little catch there. There's our transparent piece in there of perspex, and that's where you can keep your catch of the day. Very nice addition, that. Well, not so much an addition, but it was a standard part of what was the 795 Marlin, so they've obviously just carried that on. And then of course on the port and starboard side there, another one over the other side, you can see are all important rod holders, and probably equally as important, your drinks holders. So let's get this one pushed back. Okay, so dealing with the rear cockpit area then, you can see obviously there's a recess there. That's obviously for your standard type aluminium pole with the tabletop on the top, that you'll have seen on a number of our other walkthrough films. Just pushes in, pushes out, no screws, no nothing. Very easy to take apart or to add, depending on what you're up to out the back here in the cockpit. And of course you can also see very quickly that they've got these just, so we'll just get those seats out. These cushions, incidentally, obviously this is a brand new boat and therefore cushions are still covered, and we haven't fitted them on their points here. You can see obviously that they secure down to this plastic base, so that these little bits here pop in to these things here, to these bits here, and they just hold your cushions in place while you're underway, and these then just lift off. There's a fitting on the back of these, which you can see just there, and that just allows that to slot in there and holds it in place, and then you can secure them on with the tags there. So they're very quick to get the cushions on and off. Certainly if you're going to take them off when you're not out on your boat, you just want to keep them out of the weather, then really quick to take apart. So let's get this other side down. There we go. This one has been secured in those points there. And there you go, so that's with the sort of U-shaped seat there, and you can imagine if you've got your table set out there, really nice place to sit out the back here. But what is also very nice is that there are other configurations that you can have with this 795 Sport, one of which is where you might remember that you often have those sliding three-piece doors on the 6s, the 7s or the 8s, and certainly the 695 we've just done on our channel. You'll have noticed that they have that lovely sliding door. You can see here that one option is you take away the sliding door in favour of some additional side doors, one port and starboard, and now this becomes, if we pop it open there, look at that. So that's a really interesting setup. You've obviously got cold water tap supply there. You've got your drinks holders there, little sink, outdoor sink, more drinks holders, and then more especially this is a really weighty piece, so you have to be careful bringing it out one-handed, and you'll see there gas burner. So in effect what it is a really nice outdoor barbecue. Jeanneau just started doing that, and you'll see if I just support it on the seat here, it's a really heavy piece of cast iron that is a sort of plancher style cooking that sits over that gas burner. So yeah, really nice option that. If you fancy that option, I could definitely imagine being sat here with a barbie on waiting for it to cook, but not so much in Lymington High Street, somewhere out on the Pembrokeshire coastline where we live. Fantastic. But anyway, I digress. In here, of course, as you can probably see from the sign that was on there, that would be your gas locker. In there, you can just see the gas tank in there. And then over this side, just a bit of space here, some water piping coming through there, bit of a storage spot on this one. From a fridge point of view, don't panic, you can still keep your beers cold because it's the other side in the saloon area. So that's this great little option of an outdoor barbecue. So let me just put the grill tray back and we'll crack on. And there we go, grill pan back in, little fat collector there, but a really sort of a very tough cooking surface for all of your cooking needs when you're out and about on the water. Brilliant. Bit of a heat deflector there as well to make sure not too much heat gets back up onto the GRP surround, not that you'd be shutting it straight away. And then just on gas struts there, goes back down. So I think you'd agree that's a really nice little addition, that. As I say, it's an option, so alternatively you can have a seat there. And while I'm on the subject of seating, you'll see here as well, there's some little there's one on the other side there as well. And what they are is this seat in its entirety is, if I just open this there, you can see there's those two little spinny screws that allow this whole seating unit to detach. And what you can then do is you can move that whole seating unit forward and re-screw it into these two sides here. And you're probably thinking, what on earth is the point of that? Well, the point of that is, if I take this cushion right out of the way, you'll probably see a bit better. But you can see that if you've separated this whole seating unit and moved it forward, you've now created a gap behind. And if you look carefully there, you'll see the handle, because just like these seats at the side here lift and pull forward, so this piece lifts up, pulls forward, and now fills the gap that you've created by moving this whole storage section forward. So what you've now created is a sun pad. So you've got a rear sun pad now, which has the additional cushions, and you can now get a sun pad area out here. So it's, as you can already see, there's a real myriad of options here when it comes to setting out the cockpit area, be it cooking, be it additional seating there, be it a three-piece door there, a sliding door there, which is one of the options, or indeed a bit of serious lounging, drinks holder full, sun pad out, job done. Fantastic. So let's have a look at some of the storage while we're back here, because obviously, just like many as you know, they've used lots of the space underneath for us to supply storage. So let's just get these seats back up and then I can show you some of that. So seats are back up. You can see there a little facility to lock these to keep the bits and pieces safe, but we'll lift the two up here, little quarter turn, and then we can lift that up, storage up, a bit of a juggle when you're one-handed, and there you can just see a bit of the storage there, good size indeed, going right across there and beyond the actual door itself. Some water piping there, the grey piping coming through to the showers at the back, but that's a good storage area there. And there we go, so you can see more storage down here. You can also see your 280 litre fuel tank under there, and in fact these little hatches here, they're a quarter turn and then they lift off, so there you can see your plastic fuel tank underneath, and you can just catch sight there. Quite fiddly to get in there, which is why you may have spotted already those 4 bolts there. They just allow you to take that panel off, check there's been no water ingress in the fuel, all those sorts of bits, and of course change the filters and things as and when required. So let's climb down in there. You can see it runs on gas struts at the side there. And then what I was going to show you by climbing in is, just take this little bit off here, and there you can see you've got your auto bilge there, which is controllable from the helm station, but you've also got a manual bilge as well, just down there, in case your electrics or your automatic bilge fails you, God forbid. A few more of your electrics routing coming through back here, and cabling, some venting there of course, to keep air circulation around the fuel tank. And over this side, well, we're down in the basement here, we'll just pop this one open. And there we go. So a little bit of space left in here, but of course what you can see there straight away is that's where your batteries are. Tucked away in there, pretty easy to get to as well, pretty easy to do any maintenance on that might be required, so pretty easy to access. Shut that one back down, and over it goes. Shore power connection here, just a simple slightly quarter turn, doesn't really need unscrewing as such, and that's your hookup. We used to keep our 795 hooked up all the time at the marina, keep the batteries topped up in good condition, and we also, in winter, we always used to run a dehumidifier inside the boat to just help keep the cushions and anything else from becoming damp in the winter months. So obviously by being hooked up, it would run itself well. In fact, there's a short film on our channel about that dehumidifier in respect of our motorhome, but it was exactly the same dehumidifier. It's a Miko, and was excellent at the job of keeping everything dry over those winter months when you couldn't get out on your boat. So there we go, cockpit storage locker, good space. So just moved, still wrapped, still shiny new. That's obviously the tabletop, which can fit into that pole there that I mentioned, but of course more especially if we head straight up to the front, up the starboard side of the boat, you'll see there's also another piece still wrapped here, and what that is, before I move it out your way, is that's one of those metal frames. You can just see it through the plastic there, and if you remember back to the film of the 895, I showed you that metal framework that slots into the cockpit of the 895, slots into this area here, and yeah, of course makes this whole area then into a sun mattress, which is absolutely fantastic. Excuse the noise of the traffic just heading by. A bit weird to be on a boat and traffic to be coming by. In fact, we've got a traffic jam. Anyway, so yeah, so this area all into a sun pad, really nice to have. You've got your extra drinks holders there, you've got your washers there, windscreen wipers, similarly over the other side, washers over the other side there. So let's just move this framework out, and then you'll start to see the space a bit more clearly. Incidentally, the walkways upside here, starboard side, is slightly wider than the port side. Not by much, but you can just visually see there's just a tiny bit more room there. And while we're over this side as well, you can see obviously this one has sliding doors to port and starboard. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the film, these types of options are configurable. So you can have the sliding doors at the back, you can have no doors at the sides, you can have a single door at the side. So lots of options. This particular one at BHG Marine has been obviously fitted out with the sliding doors port and starboard, and they've of course added that lovely barbecue area. So if we make our way up the front here and just look at those last bits that we see here, this cushion here, which I'll lift up, again these cushions haven't been fitted obviously because they're still in their squeaky clean wrapping and a bit damp from some earlier drizzle that we had here. This piece here, you can see, that's completely removable. So then of course what you then get is a walkway all around the boat, front to back, port and starboard side, so that can be taken out and keep your walkway. But obviously if you're going to go for that seat there and or the sun pad option across here, then obviously that's where you'd use that infill piece. And of course there, a very nice backrest whilst you are sat in this area. Very nice indeed. While we're up at the front as well, if we just move this cushion out the way, you'll see there's your little locker space at the front here, and you can just see in there you've got your electric motor for your Lumar. There's your remote just down here for the anchor. Obviously it is controllable from the helm station, but as you'll have heard me say before probably if you've watched our other films, and indeed if you've watched the anchoring, how to safely anchor your boat, which is also on the channel, we preferred to do a combination of both, mainly from up here using the remote, so you can actually then look over the side, you can see where your anchor's going, see when it comes up, whether it's snagged or whether it's bringing up anything, and generally you get a better feel for, you know, how your anchor's lying. You can certainly see if you're gripping with the anchor from up the front here, none of which you can do if you're deploying the anchor from inside the cabin space at the helm station. And you can see there as well, obviously you've got your port and starboard lights, and your Lumar windlass there, really strong setup there, safety clip here which just clips into there, and when you're underway and you don't want, if anything accidentally failed, the last thing you want is your anchor dropping over the side, so that just is a safety clip that you drop in place in case anything goes awry and stops your anchor deploying itself in effect. I was talking earlier about the fact that the Marlin, what used to be called the Marlin, is now the Sport, and that's just another reflection of that change. It's very much still a fantastic fishing boat, but they've added stand-up paddleboard bars, indeed it could be a wakeboard, it could be a surfboard, really strong sturdy bars up here that allow you to add more water toys if you like, so hence this sort of change away from the emphasis on perhaps just fishing to something that would cover a lot of water sports. Some really good floodlighting fitted in there. One more bit I'll show you out front here. I'll just move this cushion. You'll see here, very handy, you've got an ability to open the seat cover there, and that's a really easy place to then of course stow all your cushions from the front here, get them down into the boat if you're storing for winter or if you're going to be away from your boat for a week or two. Keeps the weather off them, but whereas we used to have to take them down the side of the boat and then in through the back doors, but that obviously is now dead easy and a really handy addition to be able to stow your cushions. And of course, as you can see there, also lockable. These little catches, incidentally, these little things here, work with these little clips here, and what all they are is an ability for you to secure. You can see the nylon piece here, and the nylon feeds through those down here, gets secured on the front, and therefore if you're buzzing along at 30 plus knots, it makes sure that your seat cushions don't disappear into the ocean behind you as you've got the wind in your hair and flying along. Over on the port side, just see the blue outline around the base of that filler. That's obviously there for your freshwater tank filler, and over this side you've got that little black rim round the base of it, which is your black water pump out. Okay, time to venture inside and show you the interior. Okay, so quite a few bits and pieces tucked away in here. We've obviously gone for the window option here, no sliding doors, so that allows this bench seat area. And if I lift up some of these cushions here, you can also see in here you've got a little sort of drainage area if perhaps you wanted to store your catch of the day. That works over this side with another sink, cold water there, with its own plug and drain, again for rinsing off perhaps if the weather's gone inclement on you outside and you've retreated indoors. And then down the front of these, they've both got little storage areas you can see in there. You've obviously got your isotherm fridge here, which, yes, you've guessed it, another removable panel. So if we just pop that out the way, and the little isotherm fridge there, little ice area, and plenty enough storage room for perhaps a tinny or two, who knows. Good sturdy catch there. So that's obviously provides that bit of footrest here for if you're using it as a bench seat. And then over this side you've got your more storage area in here, bit of water piping as well. And under here you've got some fuses and access to some of your electrics there. But also a little bit of storage at the back there. And similarly over this side, a bit more storage there. Just get the camera down inside. There. So like a lot of the, or like all of the Jeanneaus that you'll have seen me have a look through, you'll notice that there's storage absolutely everywhere tucked away. And of course if we move this footrest out the way, you can see there's also another piece of timber here. So let's lift that one out the way. And there you can see underneath your fresh water tank, just there. And the associated pumps and piping that and the white one at the back there, that's obviously coming in from the deck there where we saw the freshwater filler to fill up your tank. Right, let's put that back on. Up the front here, in front of these seats as well, you've got your battery charger here, together with some of your main fuses, but also a tiny bit of storage space perhaps as well. Some curtains there that we've got folded in for the cabin space, and over this side as well, another little door, and there's your battery cut-offs. That's just under there. But what you'll of course notice as well is that, yeah, this rotates here. It's also got this bolster, so you can pull this bit forward, bit stiff, put it forward, have it in that forward facing position, and then that's a full seating, if you like, seated position here at the helm station. Or you can lift this up, and then with it in its back position there, it's a sort of lean against type to give you that view out of the cockpit space there. Now what you might have also noticed, or even caught sight of, is that up there. Not that lovely sunroof, which is letting in some well needed blue sky and sunshine now to dry everything out after this morning's dull and drizzly weather. But yeah, it's actually an ability to turn this into an indoor seating space with a table. So you'll see here that there's a little pin just there. So if we can get that pin out, joggle that pin out, little spar on it there which just fits into that little notch there, and then that then allows this table to drop down. Okay, so pins out, loosens it off slightly, and then down it comes. We'll spin it round, and what you'll also see here is that this seat here has an ability to hinge forward so that it's facing to the rear. So there we go, hinge it over to the other side, seat becomes rear facing. We've now joggle our table down to its stop point just there that you see. So that now rotates, and you can also see that this now rotates. So we've now got a table that can spin all the way around. Got your bench seating there, side seating there, and you've got an area where you can either shelter from the weather or indeed shelter from the sun if you're really lucky. There are, of course, just like we talked about with the doors at the back there and the doors at the sides here, there are of course options for the inside here. Hopefully I'll have also been able to overlay some photos of other setups in the space here, which gives you an idea of perhaps your alternative choices when you buy one of these boats new, and how you can actually have it set up to your sort of specification. So the Helm station, where it all happens, you'll straight away see a really nice GPS map 1223 screen there. Good 12-inch size screen. This we used to have the 6YC on our 895, which was a 22 boat. This 795, this is the CL5, which is a much more interactive, shall we say, and touch screen system. Amazing how far and how quick it's come on in the last 2 years. The Fusion radio RA70, which obviously connects to the speakers at the back here. See some touch lighting as well there. The inside, and then some of your switches, panels along the front here, your water pump, your bilge there. There's the anchor control that I was talking about earlier, that you can control the anchor from the Helm station, but bit better touch and feel from the front there, was our view. Internal lighting, some electric circuitry power for that as well, and then your just below that, then your bow thruster here, Sleipner bow thruster. Here's the control for those zip weights, those 450Ss. And if you want to know a lot more about those and a bit of its working and how they work, then have a look at the other film on our channel, which looks at the zip weights in use. But look what you can see down here as well. It is with the electric steering that we talked about when we first looked at the back of the boat. You also get the autopilot option as well. So that is a fantastic addition to have, and really nice to see. And I'll show you a little bit of that in a moment. But as we just move across the front here as well, you've got here tucked away, you've got your engine start stop, you've got your power, and then also the fly-by-wire throttle here. Again, no wires, all electronics, so they've now gone full electronic in effect from the boats that we had. And near 2 or 3 years ago, it's now gone all electric. No steering rams, no cables, no nothing. There's your engine lifts for up and down at the back there on that lovely Yamaha at the back. But what it particularly allows, the CL5, is that it allows you to transport and control a lot of the data over onto the bigger screen here. So from your standard fishing chart loaded onto the GPS map here, and indeed that's obviously an option as to what maps you load into the back of your Garmin in the SD slot there, either obviously maps that are and charts that are local to you with varying degrees of detail depending on how much you pay. They're all upgradable online through an iPad or an iPhone or something, so quite simple to get up-to-date charts and keep them up to date. And then if you hit the home key there and move across to vessel, and then we slide across to Yamaha, you'll then see that it allows you to bring up the whole of the CL5 control onto here. It also allows you to interact with it as well. That is the sort of, if you like, the next step along from NEMA 2000, which allows you that then integration of the autopilot, the CL5, the Garmin 1223, and all those displays. So it's again some really good steps forward in the last, it seems 2 minutes since we were collecting our 7 and 895s, but the technology change is actually quite significant. And you'll see as well, if you remember from one of our videos about reversing and about berthing and the slow speed manoeuvring and the difficulty that it was sometimes hard to see your engine alignment, you'll see that with this steering here no steering rams, but if you look carefully here as I move the steering, you can just see that gauge now moving to port and starboard. You see it's gone red there. So of course, where I talked in those previous films about not being able to see where the engines were dead straight when we were manoeuvring the 895 on the engines, if I now turn the steering wheel back, you can see this point here will then just drop into the green. There you go. So without even looking behind me, I now know that the engine, as you can see there, is now dead straight. So, you know, some really fantastic additions to this electronic helm station. Small changes, but really significant changes that have made the 795, let alone the 895, which also takes a lot of this equipment, which make the 795 and this 795 Sport, you know, such a fantastic package now out on the water. Really good technology. So obviously some of these are upgrades, do talk to your Jeanneau dealer, who will tell you, you know, what is standard, what is part of an upgrade package, but certainly the one that BHG have set up here with those features that I've just touched on there is a really great package there. Really good package and very much worth the investment in that slight upgrade on the technology that you're seeing here. And then finally up on the Helm station, you've obviously got, as you've seen on other Jeanneaus, you've got, this is probably the hard wire into the Fusion. If you wanted to hardwire some external peripheral device to perhaps play music through the system, some little USB sockets obviously there, and similarly they've actually tucked a little 12-volt socket around the side here as well. So all good. Top there's your usual heading compass, plus Themo heading compass. But I particularly like this upgrade to the electronic steering. What incidentally you can also do, if I just look across here, you can see that when you swipe across, you've got a steering friction option. So and you've also got here a lock to lock option. Now those two are quite interesting as well, because steering friction, that, as you can see there, that goes without saying. That gives you, if I touch it again there, it goes to regular and heavy, so that merely just makes the steering heavier or lighter. But the other one, which is pretty interesting, this lock to lock ability on the CL5 means that if, for example, you're coming into berth and you wanted, and there were times where you were doing some short space manoeuvring in a tight area and wanted to go full lock on the engine as you came into your berth area, then of course if you change the lock to lock, you can then decrease significantly the number of turns of the wheel before your engine goes the full lock port to starboard. So it means if you've got to then quickly change direction with it, you can reduce it down to say 2 full turns of the steering wheel rather than perhaps 4 for a full lock to lock. So again, just some little additions like that which have been which are really handy additions, particularly when you've got that single yam on the back there. Okay, so last but by no means least, the forward part of the boat, heads on the right, berth area on the left here. So let's just, before we put the infill pieces in and sort of get you some measurements perhaps of the interior here, let's just show you quickly the usual Jeanneau additions. A little bit of storage under there, straight away as well, another piece of storage under there, and then obviously this one, where we're right up at the front of the boat. As you can imagine, if you lift that, there we go, there's your Sleipner bow thruster unit there, just here. And what we saw from the outside, that's your battery, and of course a lot of other electrics hidden away up front here that Jeanneau hide out the way under all these little recesses. So you'll see here that from a size point of view, from sort of that bit at the back there is quite narrow, so the idea in effect is, if you can imagine, you were sort of diagonally across this space here, so it would sort of be almost your head or feet end would be that up to your head at this end. So what they also therefore supply to enable you to get it into a sort of berth is that triangular piece that you remember from one or two of the other boats that we've reviewed, the triangular piece that fits in there. So let's just drop that bit in as well. That, unsurprisingly, there's another piece of timber here with a clip on it just there, which slots in down to this spot just here. So let's get that put on. And there we go, so that's that in. The clip is just under there. And you can see that then stops it. It's still liftable, but it stops it actually pulling back out and just about leaves you enough room to get into the door to the heads. But of course, once you've got that bit in place, we'll then get the triangular piece of cushion that goes with it. And there we go. So there you've got in effect your berth area. From the looks of it, it might be that you head this end, but I guess it's entirely up to you. It looks as though you could do either. So let's see if we can get a couple of measurements of that so that we know what sort of size it is. Okay, so let's go from the side of the door here across to where you see the laser point there. And that is 1.159 meters, so across that space there. And then if we do the length, then from this end here through where you just see the laser mark on the back there, then that is 1.828 meters across that space there. And then if we just have a sit down in here, and we'll just get a measurement across this space at the back here. Let's clear that out. And then just across the back there is 906 millimeters, 0.906 of a meter, just across this area at the back here. So it is, as I say, it's a cosy berth. It's certainly more than a one person. You can certainly sleep two people in here if you were just overnighting or something like that away for the weekend. It's got obviously vented with its own little opening window there. That was the access hatch, of course, that we looked at when we were outside, with its gas struts that allows you to get the cushions back into the interior here. So perfectly acceptable for a bit of weekending if you were catching so many fish that you wanted to stay out. And of course, what would it be without Nikki demonstrating
the size of the bed?
A 5'8" person fits into the space we've just been having a look at and measuring.
An excuse to have a nice little nap in the afternoon.
Yes, you wouldn't need much encouragement, would you?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Oh, plenty of room. And,
So 5'8", yeah.
Plenty of room for you as well.
Absolutely right. No, none of that. It's the middle of the afternoon, for goodness sake. 2:10. What are you talking about? And it's not my birthday. Right. Yes, it's a good. It is a good space. It's a good size, that, and I think definitely okay for a couple of people if you're weekending away, as I say. Okay, so let's get that cushion out of the way. Pop the clip off under there like that. Lift that out of the way, and then we can show you the last bit of the boat. Allows me to open the door fully. So, and the little small heads area, let's just give you an idea of the height of that from a headroom point of view. Right, so let's have a look at the floor to ceiling measurement. If we just ping the laser on that. Yeah, so it's up on the ceiling there, so let's just, and that gives us, so 1.448, 1 metre, 448 mil. So yeah, definitely not the place you're going to go for an evening's dancing, but enough to be able to sit your way in. And yeah, definitely not much headroom, but there's a light up there, touch lighting, where it goes from those two settings, to bright, to dull, and then to off. And then, gosh, yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to spend a huge amount of time in here because it's not the largest space. But let's just let some light in so that you can see these last couple of bits. Cold water tap again there, again lifts up and down. A little bit of storage here underneath, and then in your cupboard here, that's where I mentioned you've got your windscreen washer bottle tucked away in there. You've got your outlet for your sink there, and for your toilet. For the outlet, for the inlet for the seawater to drag in for the flushing system. of the Jabsco seawater toilet that I'm perched on at the moment. Although that's probably too much information. The last bit as well, which you might also remember from some of the other films that I've shown you, is this panel. It just lifts out from the back here and allows you access to all the electronics of the Helm station, all those fabulous components that we were looking at earlier, which allow the connection of the two under those protocols I was talking about, the J1939, to give you all that amazing display that we had a look at earlier, that you're able to utilise when you're out on the water. Okay, and here incidentally, laminated sheet to just give you some detail of the boat that BHG Marine are supplying. It goes through a lot of the specifications, some of which might have put up on the screen already, but certainly Daniel Yeates at BHG is really good at taking you through all those options, and has plenty of bits and pieces that he can show you that give you an idea of what your boat will look like as and when it's in its final ready to go state, when of course you'd be super excited. So, having finished in the heads, so to speak, well, what did you think of that? Not the heads, I hasten to add, but what did you think of the 795 Sport?
Oh, incredible boat. The technology has come on so much in the last few years.
Yeah,
with the Garmin chart plotter and its functions being integrated with the Yamaha engine data. Absolutely amazing. And you know, just enhances your drive in the boat, so to speak. The Sport, it's, you know, it's set up for fishing, but also there's an element of comfort here as well. So you know, best of both worlds really, leisure and sport.
Yeah, really like it. And of course, some of you eagle-eyed as well would have also spotted, there it is, the Jeanneau bag. And are we even going to bother looking at it to see what's in there? Because we know what's going to be in there, don't we? There's going to be more manuals than you can shake a stick at. There they all are, and there's going to be the toolkit. There's there's the manuals. There's going to be the toolkit, and we even know what the contents of that might be. But yeah, every new Jeanneau, you get one of their Jeanneau branded hold everything bags. Very useful.
So we hope you enjoyed this detailed walkthrough.
Wasn't it fun?
Yeah,
it was brilliant. Like that. 795 Sport. Been looking forward to getting on a 795 again. Never been on the 795 Sport, so it was really good to get in and amongst and in and around all the nooks and crannies of the boat.
And if you're looking to buy one, then do get in contact with BHG Marine. They do provide an excellent customer service, I think.
They're absolutely great. When we bought the 8 here, really good experience. So keep an eye out for our other films from BHG. Hopefully we're going to show you a little bit of a 1095 in due course, and a 1095 Fly, in fact.
Ooh, yeah, exciting.
Very nice too, yes. So thanks ever so much for watching. As always, it's been lovely having you along, and we'll see you next time. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye now. Bye.